Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com. I'm here with reference recordings. And today we're talking about Stravinsky's Pulcinella, a work that's been fairly frequently recorded, certainly in suite form, very frequently recorded by chamber orchestras, pardon me. I mean, it's a delightful piece full of delicious tunes, wonderfully arranged. It's based largely on the music of Domenico Gallo, a bunch of trio sonatas. Nobody knows who Domenico Gallo really was, or who his trio sonatas, how his trio sonatas popped up and came to Stravinsky's attention, because Stravinsky thought that that music was by Pergolesi, which it was not. There is a tiny bit of Pulcinella that's an arrangement of Pergolesi. And the really cool thing about the Domenico Gallo trio sonatas, and I made a video about them, feel free to go check it out. They're also available on YouTube if you want to listen to them, is that Stravinsky did so little to them to make them Stravinskified. I mean, he diddled the rhythm and the orchestration and whatnot, but my goodness, the tunes are all there, and they're all there essentially in the form in which Stravinsky used them. It's really a fascinating comparison if you have the time to make it. You'll enjoy it very much. The other thing about Pulcinella is that it sits somewhat outside the usual realm of Stravinsky's work, even though it's an absolute classic and iconic work in the history of the neoclassical movement. And Richard Taruskin, who you may have heard of, Richard Taruskin is a remarkable musicologist who worked out of University of California at Berkeley. And he's best known for his diatribes against the period instrument movement and his discovery, his discovery that what they were doing was actually modern and had absolutely nothing to do with historical authenticity. Really very, very interesting guy. He wrote a fabulous book of essays called Text and Act, I think was what the title was. Really very, very interesting. He was a little bit full of himself too, but it's interesting to remember that he was, first and foremost, a scholar of Russian music. And he wrote an absolutely fabulous study of Stravinsky called Stravinsky in the Russian Tradition. I think it is. It's sitting in my other storage area, but it's really a brilliant work. And like so many people who have a theory, he had a really hard time dealing with pieces that did not fit his theory. And the big piece that didn't fit his theory was Pulcinella, because his theory, or at least his description of Stravinsky's working habits, was that Stravinsky required a model. And he would take this model, whether they were Russian folk songs or some other pre-existing thing, usually taken from the fund of Russian music that he was working with, whether art music or folk music or whatever. And he would use that as his foundation on which he would Stravinskify whatever the model was. Well, Pulcinella didn't really work that way, because Pulcinella is not based on anything Russian. I mean, it's based on Domenico Gallo trio sonatas. And for that reason, he really hated Pulcinella, which is really a shame because it's so, so delightful. Now, the complete ballet isn't performed all that often because it's a ballet with songs. It requires 3 soloists, and it's entirely in keeping with its rather sunny Italian demeanor. The songs are in Italian, and it's really, really delightful. So complete recordings of Pulcinella are a little bit less frequent, less common than performances of the suite. However, there is a clear reference recording for complete Pulcinellas, and that clear reference is Claudio Abbado with the London Symphony Orchestra and Teresa Berganza, Ryland Davies, and John Shirley Quirk as soloists. Now, when was this recorded? It was recorded, Pulcinella, in 1979. There we go, 1979. And so it's fairly recent as a reference recording. And the reason is because, well, in 1979, even in 1979, there weren't so many versions of the complete work. It was only listened to and performed as a suite without the songs. So doing the complete thing was a big deal. There was a niche that could be filled by doing the complete work, which Abbado filled nicely. But the other thing about this piece is that there is something in this work. It's sunny, sort of Italian lyricism. I mean, Stravinsky wasn't able to suck all the warmth out of that music. Somehow it all survived. Maybe that's why Taruskin didn't like it either. It wasn't cool. Stravinsky cool. You know what I mean? It has just a beautiful humanity and lyricism to it, and cheerfulness. It's just great. So that kind of thing was tailor-made for Claudio Abbado. I mean, he was, of course, Italian, and the piece is in Italian, and there is an Italianate kind of, well, I mean, the word, I said lyricism, I guess that's the word, isn't it? Lyricism to the music that he brings out superbly well, along with extraordinary precision and delicacy and accuracy of rhythm and color. With wonderful playing from the London Symphony Orchestra. It's just a beautiful, beautiful performance. And I remember vividly when it first came out, we all heard it, and we all said, aha, that's the one. It's got to be the one. It just blew away the competition. Now, as I've said many times, reference recordings sometimes are references not because they're the best, but because they are representative of what the work is in a way that's very helpful at making comparison. But that's really true when there are many, many versions of a work and many fine versions of a work. So it's almost impossible to choose between them, but you do want to make comparisons. That's that kind of a reference recording. But there are also reference recordings that are simply like terrific, and they're the best ones out there, and they set a standard. And since this Pulcinella came out, there have been other excellent versions of Pulcinella. In fact, it's one of those ballets that seems always to be well done because, assuming the soloists are good, because people don't do it unless they can. In other words, the people who do it have recorded it, have a real feeling for the piece, and they know that it has certain special qualities, and they're prepared to realize those special qualities. So yes, there have been other fine complete Pulcinellas since this one, but no one really cares about those. It's kind of interesting. I mean, they're there. We've acknowledged them. We've reviewed them. We may own them. We may listen to them. We may enjoy them. But when we talk about the complete Pulcinella, the one that we talk about is this one, the reference recording on Deutsche Grammophon with Claudio Abbado conducting the London Symphony Orchestra and that excellent trio of soloists. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me, and take care.